Imagine a routine police investigation that spirals into chaos, all because of a mystery surrounding a red paint spray. What seemed like a simple break-in case soon turned into a web of deception and unexpected twists. A local cop, on a typical night shift, encounters a shocking scene. Red paint splattered across an officer's uniform and the suspect's belongings. Little did he know, this wasn't just any case, and that paint wasn't just a random clue. It actually belonged to one of the most distinguished figures in the U.S. military, a Black Navy general, whose reputation stretched far beyond his rank. The deeper the cop dug, the more it became clear that something much bigger was at play here. But the question remains, was this a crime of passion, or was there a hidden message behind the red paint? Stick around to uncover the twists that leave everyone questioning what's really going on. As the investigation unfolded, the officer learned that the red paint was a signature of sorts, a symbol that had been used before in high-profile incidents involving the military. But this time, it was different. This wasn't just any officer involved. It was a well-respected Black Navy general who had been known for his groundbreaking work and leadership within the military. The more the cop dug, the more questions surfaced. Why would someone target this specific general? Was there a personal vendetta? Or was this an attempt to send a larger, more dangerous message? The cop's curiosity grew, but so did the risk. People close to the general were becoming uneasy, and the cop was now treading carefully, unsure who he could trust. One thing was for sure, this wasn't a random break-in. The red paint, the military connection, and the secrecy surrounding it all felt like pieces of a puzzle he wasn't ready to solve. The deeper the cop went, the more complex the situation became. Conversations with colleagues hinted at something much darker than he had originally imagined. The general, a figure of influence, had been involved in several secretive military projects, and some whispers suggested that not everyone in his circle had been pleased with his rise to power. In fact, there were rumors of enemies lurking in the shadows, people with deep ties to both the military and beyond, people who would do anything to bring down someone like him. Meanwhile, the general's personal life began to surface in ways that raised more questions than answers. His estranged relationship with certain military officials, a mysterious trip abroad just days before the break-in, and even a potential connection to a covert operation made the case even more tangled. The cop found himself pulling at strings, unsure which ones would lead to answers and which might unravel something much bigger, something that could jeopardize his entire career. But then, just as he was starting to piece things together, something strange happened. A confidential file on the general went missing, and someone seemed to be watching the cop's every move. Was this just a coincidence, or was someone trying to cover their tracks? Every lead felt like it was being taken away, like the walls were closing in. The red paint was only the beginning of a much deeper conspiracy, and now the cop had to decide how far he was willing to go to uncover the truth. As the cop delved deeper into the case, he realized how much danger he was really in. Each new piece of information seemed to open a door to something darker, and the more he uncovered, the more powerful forces seemed to be working against him. He had started to get too close to the truth, and that was something people weren't willing to let slide. Mysterious figures began showing up in places they shouldn't, making it clear they were aware of his every move. His phone was tapped, his surveillance footage erased, and his colleagues started acting strange, some offering cryptic warnings, while others appeared to be silently aligned with those who wanted the investigation to end. One night, as the cop combed through the files he managed to secure on the general, a chilling discovery hit him. Someone had planted false information, framing the general for something far worse than anyone had imagined. But who would go to such lengths? What were they trying to cover up? And more importantly, was the general even innocent? As he followed this trail, the tension skyrocketed. His car was broken into, and the confidential files were stolen from his home. It was clear now. There were people out there who would stop at nothing to silence him. But the cop couldn't back down. Too much was at stake. The general's life, the fate of his career, and the lives of countless others hung in the balance. As the pieces started to fall into place, the cop felt a dangerous storm approaching. Time was running out. Would he get to the bottom of it before it was too late? The clock was ticking, and he could feel the weight of every second closing in on him. Just as the cop thought he was closing in on the truth, something completely unexpected turned everything upside down. One night, while reviewing encrypted messages from an anonymous source, he stumbled upon a file, one he wasn't supposed to see. The file contained shocking new evidence. The general wasn't the victim in all of this. He was, in fact, a key player in a covert operation that could change the balance of power within the military. The very red paint he had been chasing. It wasn't meant to incriminate anyone. It was a warning. Someone wanted to send a clear message to the general, but also to anyone who dared to uncover the truth. The revelation hit hard. The cop's entire perspective on the case shifted. If the general wasn't innocent, then everything he had believed was a lie. But what about the mysterious forces trying to cover up the general's involvement? Were they protecting him, or was he part of something far more sinister than anyone had imagined? As the cop scrambled to piece together this new puzzle, another disturbing discovery followed. He was being framed, not just for his investigation into the break-in, but for a much bigger crime he had no part in. Evidence was being planted, his every move was being monitored, and soon people he trusted were pulling away from him. His life was quickly spiraling out of control. The stakes had just escalated beyond anything he could have predicted. The line between friend and foe blurred, and as the investigation took on darker, more dangerous layers, the cop realized he was no longer just solving a case. He was fighting for his survival. Who could he trust now? With enemies closing in from all sides, the clock was ticking even faster. The tension reached its breaking point as the cop finally confronted the general. After all the lies, the mysterious warnings, and the mounting pressure, the truth was within his grasp. They met in a dimly lit office where the cop laid out the entire case, piece by piece. The general listened quietly, his face expressionless. The cop was ready for a confession, ready to finally expose the truth that had been buried for so long. But as the cop finished his explanation, the general did something unexpected. He didn't deny any of it. Instead, he dropped a bombshell that left the cop reeling. The general had known about the operation all along and had been part of it from the start. But what the cop didn't know was that the operation wasn't just military. It was a covert mission tied to high-stakes government contracts, black market dealings, and international power struggles. The red paint? It was a warning, but not just for the general. It was for anyone who might get too close to the truth. The general had been playing both sides, and now the cop was in the crosshairs. Just when the cop thought he had all the answers, the final twist hit him. A sudden knock at the door interrupted their tense standoff. The cop turned, and to his horror, the person who entered was someone he had trusted all along, his own partner. The partner, with a cold smile, revealed that they had been the mastermind behind the entire plot. They had been orchestrating everything from the very beginning, using the cop as a pawn to cover their tracks. The cop's world shattered as he realized that nothing was what it seemed. The general was just another player in the game, and the cop had unknowingly walked right into the hands of the very people he had been trying to expose. The final piece of the puzzle fell into place. The cop had been set up not only to fail, but to take the fall for a conspiracy that reached much higher than he ever imagined. Now, with the game over and his fate sealed, he had one last choice to make: walk away and let the corrupt system continue, or risk everything to bring it all crashing down, knowing that doing so might mean his own destruction. The cop took a breath, knowing that the stakes had never been higher, and the future was uncertain. The final twist had revealed not just a crime, but an entire web of corruption, and now it was up to him to decide how to end it, if he even could. In the end, the cop made a decision that no one saw coming. Rather than fall into the trap of being a pawn in someone else's game, he chose to expose the entire network, risking everything in the process. He gathered all the evidence, including the role his partner had played, and sent it to the right people, those who weren't already corrupted by the system. The general, once seen as a pawn himself, became a reluctant ally in the aftermath, offering what he could to help bring the shadowy forces to justice. The cop's career would never be the same, but at least he could walk away knowing he did what was right. The web of corruption had been unraveled, but it was clear that the battle wasn't over. There would be other cases, other conspiracies. The system would always be broken, but the fight for justice, no matter the cost, was something worth standing for.